All right, so I just got the Insta360 Luna Ultra, and today I'm going to compare its image quality to the DJI Osmo Pocket 4P. But before I start, I do want to mention that this video is not sponsored by DJI or Insta360. I bought both of these cameras with my own money, and honestly, I don't really care which camera you are going to buy. I just want to help you to decide which camera is better for you. But at the same time, if you do want to support this channel, affiliated links for these cameras are going to be down below. All right, so first of all, I'm going to start with like standard picture profiles with these cameras, which is what I'm using right now. I'm also gonna switch between like 4K and 8K on the Luna Ultra to see if it makes any difference. And then I'm gonna also switch to the 3X cameras, compare the 3X cameras on these cameras. And also, I'm gonna play around with like D-Log and also D-Log 2 versus I-Log on the Insta360 Luna Ultra. And when it comes to like color grading, I'm not really going to do anything at all to the footage. What you see right now is basically what you get straight out of camera without any further manipulation. And when I'm going to use the log profiles of these cameras, I'm just going to use the official LUTs, and that's basically it, except for D-Log 2, because a D-Log 2 LUT is not yet available from DJI, basically. Anyhow, with all of this out of the way, let's start with the tests. That's honestly what I want to do for the most part, to see which camera performs better, which camera delivers better image quality. From what I could see on the screen, the Luna Ultra looks more saturated and vibrant. The Pocket 4P looks more neutral, if you will, but also slightly darker at the same time. Let's try to backlight myself, make it a bit harder for the cameras. And here I can see definitely like a difference. The Luna Ultra exposes for my face a bit more than the Osmo Pocket 4P. Here we have some bright skies. Let's make it a bit harder for the cameras. Basically backlighting myself more or less. All right, let's film in the shade a little bit. The Luna Ultra definitely looks slightly brighter than the Pocket 4P. Actually, now it looks almost the same. All right, now I switched to 8K on the Luna Ultra. Is the image more detailed, sharper than what the Osmo Pocket 4P offers? Let me know down below. All right, now let's do like a 3X lens comparison here. And man, using this wireless remote is so convenient with the Luna Ultra. This is such a cool feature, honestly, to like properly frame yourself, see if the exposure is right, the colors are right and whatnot. Very convenient. As you can see, you can get like a nice blurry background effect. It is a bit too high though. Going to like bring it down. Yeah. Just like so. And the skin tones on the Luna Ultra look fantastic, honestly, from what I could see on the screen. All right, and now I switched to 8K on the Luna Ultra. Still using the 3X lens. Which camera is sharper? And by the way, the focal length on the Pocket 4P seems to be slightly tighter than what you get on the Luna Ultra. All right, now let's do some low light studio tests, if you will, to see which camera produces a cleaner image. I'm using 4K on the Luna Ultra because I think 4K is going to be significantly less noisy than 8K, basically. So let me move around the studio and see which camera produces better results. This is the darkest spot in my room, I think, so it should push these cameras to the extreme, basically. Here is my beautiful model for today. She's sleeping, napping, living the good life. All right, now let's do a low light test with the 3X lens, just to see which one produces a cleaner image overall. Let me turn off this light. All right, and now let's try some log footage. I'm filming with D-Log on the Pocket 4P, not D-Log 2 yet. And I'm using iLog on the Luna Ultra. And the AV compensation is set to 0.0 on both cameras with auto exposure and auto white balance. And of course, like I said, I'm only going to use the official LUTs for these cameras without doing anything extra in post-production, basically. And wow, the image looks so dark with the Osmo Pocket 4P. Which camera is more noisy? All right, and now I switched to 8K. Let's see if the image gets worse or better on the Luna Ultra. All right, and now I switched to manual exposure on both of these cameras to keep it as fair as possible. And I'm using ISO 400 on both of these. The base ISO for D-Log is 400 on the Pocket 4P, which is why I'm using that. I just wanted to make it as fair as possible, which is why I set the ISO also to 400 on the Luna Ultra. And also I locked the white balance to 5600 Kelvin on both cameras to see the color differences between the two, if you will, especially the skin tones, which is the most important part in my opinion. All right, and I'm using 8K on the Luna Ultra. I just want to see if the image becomes significantly more detailed at 8K compared to like 4K. All right, so and right now I switched to the 3x lenses on these cameras to see how they compare to each other when using the log profiles. So I'm using D-Log on the Osmo Pocket 4P and iLog on the Luna Ultra. Unfortunately, D-Log 2 is not available in 3x with the Osmo Pocket 4P, even though it's the better log profile. So if you want to use, both cameras, the 1x and the 3x, it's going to be a bit more convenient to use the D-Log profile, because then you'll be able to match the footage a bit better, and also you won't have to, enable, disable D-Log 2, basically. But anyhow, this is how the image looks like with no, corrections in post-production, and also with automatic exposure on both cameras. Let's get a bit closer. All right, so now I switched to manual exposure settings to see how they work when you take the time to basically set the exposure and white balance manually. So let's see. I know this is not the most accurate and scientific test, but it should give you like a rough idea on which one performs better, more or less at least. All right, now let's do a low light test with log. And man, from what I could see on the screen of the Ultra, it looks super noisy, significantly noisier than what I can see on the Pocket 4P. Very noisy. This is going to be, wow, the noise on the Luna Ultra is insane. It's really bad. I hope really that the Pocket 4P is going to look better. But from what I could see on the screen again, the 4P does look slightly better, slightly cleaner. Here is meow test with log. All right, now here is a 3x low light test with the log profiles of these cameras. Again, the Luna Ultra looks significantly noisier than the Pocket 4P, also like significantly softer and mushier at the same time. That's the stress test in the dark corner here. And the Pocket 4P loses me with the tracking significantly more, I gotta say, than the Luna Ultra. It's always losing me. Cinematic meow. Yep, that was good. All right, and finally, let's see if D-Log 2 is significantly better than iLog on the Luna Ultra. I am using auto exposure settings, but with the Osmo Pocket 4P, you cannot use automatic white balance with D-Log 2. You have to set the white balance manually, and then the camera basically adjusts the exposure with shutter speed. And because of this, I'm using actually ISO 1600 because according to some people, this is the best ISO to use if you want to get the widest dynamic range performance on this camera basically. I'm not really sure what is the best ISO to use on the Luna Ultra, but I am using basically automatic ISO settings on the Ultra. So let's see which one performs better. All right, so first of all, let's do some backlight tests. Push this camera to the extreme. And also I forgot to mention that with the Osmo Pocket 4P footage, there is no D-Log 2 LUT yet from DJI. So I'm gonna have to use the D-Log LUT with this footage, which is not going to be the best because it is not designed for this log profile. So take this test basically with a grain of salt because it's not going to be the most accurate. We'll have to wait for DJI to release the proper LUT and also the proper color space transform tools in DaVinci Resolve, because as far as I understand, this camera is using a brand new color space called D-Gamut 2 instead of D-Gamut, which is not yet available pretty much anywhere. So again, this is not the most accurate test, but at the same time, it should give you like a rough idea on which camera, more or less at least, works better when it comes to like the log profiles. All right, and now let's do like a low light test with D-Log 2 compared to iLog. I've set the ISO to 3200, which is the maximum for D-Log 2, and the camera is basically going to use the shutter speed to adjust the exposure. Both cameras honestly look pretty bad, very noisy. All right, and now let's test the dedicated low light modes. So I think it's just low light mode on the Osmo Pocket 4P and then pure video on the Luna Ultra. This would be the best profiles to use if you want to get the least amount of noise in your footage when filming in extreme low light conditions like this, for example. I mean, the footage looks really clean on both cameras. If I had to pick one, I would say the Pocket 4P looks slightly cleaner, but I will have to review everything on the computer. Here is the dark corner of the Meow. Man, the stabilization on the Pocket 4P really struggles compared to the Luna Ultra. Alright, so I just finished reviewing the footage on my computer. I wrote down some notes. Let me share those with you quickly so you can know basically what I think about the Luna Ultra compared to the Osmo Pocket 4P. Anyhow, first of all, I think the stabilization on the Luna Ultra is just significantly better than what you get on the Osmo Pocket 4P when you're doing selfie vlogging and also using the tracking at the same time. To my eyes, it looks less jittery, more stable, more pleasing basically compared to the Osmo Pocket 4P and also the Osmo Pocket 4. The Pocket 3 has fantastic stabilization performance, but for some reason, the Pocket 4 and Osmo Pocket 4P deliver like jittery stabilization performance when doing selfie vlogging and using tracking at the same time. Next, using the remote control on the Luna Ultra is honestly not really a gimmick. It is very handy, especially if you're using the 3x lens and you want to be able to easily compose your shots, if you will. The only thing I would say about this remote control is that sometimes you will lose the connection even if you are like 2 or 3 meters away from the camera. It happened to me a couple of times, but it is very useful in my personal opinion. Again, if you want to be able to compose your shots, especially when using the 3x lens. Another thing that I like about the Luna is that when you connect the camera to the Insta360 application and then you want to preview everything on the screen of the phone, basically, the camera does not fold like the Pocket 4P, and then you have to unfold it again, which is super annoying to me. With this camera, it just switches the preview to the phone, but it does not change the framing of the camera, which again, I like more on this camera. And also, when you connect this camera to your computer to transfer files via the USB-C port, basically, if you use the internal storage or also the SD card, the camera will fold right away and switch to like storage mode significantly quicker than what you get on any DJI camera, basically, because with those cameras, with DJI cameras, you have to wait like 3 seconds for the cameras to enter the storage mode, which for me is very annoying because, you know, these 3 seconds add up in the end, especially if you're like me and you're constantly, you know, filming and transferring footage to the computer. It's just quicker on the Luna Ultra, and I wish we had the option with DJI cameras to eliminate this 3-second countdown, if you will, basically. But I have to say that with the Pocket 4P, you do get like double the storage, more than double the storage actually. You get 103 gigs compared to only 47 gigs on the Luna Ultra. And also the transfer speeds are significantly quicker. You get like 750, 800 megabits per second of transfer speeds with the Pocket 4P compared to only like 350, 400 on the Luna Ultra. All right, now let's talk about the image quality. First of all, when using the standard picture profiles in daylight, I much prefer the Luna because it looks significantly cleaner in my personal opinion, especially skin tones. Skin tones with the standard picture profiles to my eyes look much better with the Luna Ultra compared to the Pocket 4P, because on some occasions with the Pocket 4P, it made my skin look pale, grayish, whereas with this camera, you know, I looked more natural. My skin looked more natural and more pleasing. You know, the standard picture profile is designed to give you results out of camera as quickly as possible without doing anything in post-production, basically. And in that regard, again, I prefer how the Luna Ultra looks like. Now, moving on to the log profiles, honestly, I'm very impressed by the iLog profile on the Luna Ultra. I think it looks fantastic, and it is definitely comparable to the D-Log profile on the Osmo Pocket 4 and also Pocket 4P, especially when it comes to colors. I like the iLog profile when it comes to overall colors, skin tones. But I will say this though, I still think the Osmo Pocket 4P delivers a wider dynamic range performance with D-Log, and especially when filming with D-Log 2. With D-Log 2, you can definitely notice that it has like a wider dynamic range performance than the iLog footage on the Luna Ultra. But honestly, iLog looks really good, significantly better than what it was on the Ace Pro 2 that I used a couple of months ago. It is, you know, easier to manipulate. It is definitely more pushable, if you will. You can push around colors a bit better, and you get more flexibility basically in post-production than what you used to get with the Ace Pro 2. So it's really good. The colors are amazing on the iLog footage, but I prefer the dynamic range performance on the Osmo Pocket 4P. Now, before I move on to low light, I want to touch on overall sharpness and detail. And overall, I think the Osmo Pocket 4P looks more detailed and sharper than the Luna Ultra, even when filming like in 8K with the Luna Ultra. For some reason, even when filming in 8K, it makes like skin look mushy and soft compared to the Osmo Pocket 4P footage, which looks, you know, more natural, more detailed, and overall more pleasing, at least to my eyes. I don't really think using the 8K mode on the Luna Ultra is really worth it. Maybe it is slightly, you know, more detailed and sharper than 4K, but it is definitely, to my eyes, not as good as the 4K footage when it comes to like sharpness on the Osmo Pocket 4P, basically. And now when it comes to the low light performance, honestly, I think in all occasions, in all tests, I preferred the Osmo Pocket 4P, especially when filming with the log profiles. The iLog profile in low light is not really that good. You get significantly more softness, mushiness, chromatic noise, and so on. On the Pocket 4P, you also get noise, but it looks cleaner, it looks more pleasing, and also it looks less mushy and more detailed. Again, I think the Luna Ultra adds a lot of noise reduction to the footage, which makes everything look just significantly worse than what I could see on the Osmo Pocket 4P. And even when using the low light modes with these cameras, I preferred the Osmo Pocket 4P. I think it looks slightly cleaner and more natural, and even the colors in those modes, in the low light mode, were better to my eyes on the Osmo Pocket 4P compared to the Luna Ultra. So overall, I'm not really sure yet which camera is better, but I can say this: if you are someone who's not doing anything in post-production and you want to get the results as quickly as possible, I think honestly you will enjoy the Luna Ultra much more than the Pocket 4P. But if you are someone who's serious about color grading like myself, and you want to be able to have the most flexibility, and you want the widest dynamic range performance and all this stuff, I think the Pocket 4P is going to be the better choice, especially after DJI is going to release the proper D-Log 2 LUT, sorry, and then when we'll have also the proper CST tools in DaVinci Resolve to, correct D-Log 2, because I think then you will get, more flexibility, more manipulation capability in post-production compared to iLog on the Luna Ultra. Don't get me wrong, the iLog on the Luna Ultra is pretty good, but for serious colorists and filmmakers, I think the Osmo Pocket 4P is going to deliver slightly more flexibility. So those are my thoughts. For now, for the meantime, let me know down below what you think in terms of like the image quality differences between these cameras. And yeah, if you have any ideas for other videos, let me know down below as well. And hopefully this video was informative and useful. I'm gonna come back and finish the football match between Colombia and Ghana. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thank you for the support, and bye-bye.